Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So I'm back with a card making video this time. I hope my video is bright enough. The weather in the UK has gone off after weeks of lovely weather. We've now had quite a lot of rain and it's very dark. So hopefully my lighting is okay for you. So what I'm back with is two really easy cards to make. These are two cards of a really easy style that you can make. And I'm making them with Graphic 45's Season to Celebrate collection. This is the one, this is the Patterns and Solids, but this is the colour scheme. But you can make these in any papers that you've got because it's just such a simple design. The design is not my own. I was inspired by G from Creative Moments, and she made the design of these cards as far as I know, and I've just tweaked them to make my own version. So what they are is a double gatefold, which is really easy to make. They open up and use the sentiment panel or the journaling panel from one of the papers, and this one was actually from the winter papers, this colour scheme, but I've used nothing on there that says winter, so it can really be a lovely summer card. And this one was from the summer version of those papers, and they stand up. They've just got a white panel on the back for you to write your sentiment or just leave blank. They do stand up. They're quite an attractive style, and to get this cut is super easy. I've used one of the borders and cut flowers from the papers just to make my focal point. So I'll show you how to make them. So I've wrote my instructions down, and what you need first is a piece of your pattern paper that measures 6 by 12 inches. Now I'm using from the Patterns and Solids because it's got this tone on tone pattern on the front and a plain colour on the back, but it's up to you. You can use whichever papers you've got. You might have something with a bit more of a pink on the front and a yellow on the back, whichever. Anything, you just need two tones to show a little bit of difference. If you can see what I mean on here, this one has got the pink pattern here, but they're just the bold plain pattern there, so you get that effect. So all you need to do on your 6 by 12 inch piece of paper, you just need to score really easy measurements here, and you need to have your paper on the side that you want mainly facing upwards. So whatever's going to be inside your card is going to be facing downwards. So all you need to do is score at 2 inches, 4 inches, 8 inches and 10 inches. And on these papers, I like to flip them over and do exactly the same on the back. Gently score just to break those fibres of the paper, and you've got less chance of the paper cracking then. So bring back my instructions there. So 6 by 12 inches, score on the long side at 2, 4, 8 and 10. And then all you need to do is fold them in. So you can see the score lines here. So these two inner score lines need to be folded inwards. So I'm just going to pull those inwards, get those in like so. And the outer score lines need to be folded backwards. So I'm just going to fold those backwards. And just to make sure that you definitely meet in the middle, just going to make sure that there we go. Sometimes, I don't know about you, I can make a gatefold and it never meets in the middle no matter what size I make it. So if you have a little gap in the middle, just give a little pull before you make your final burnishing with your scoring tool, and you should end up with a good meet in the middle like so. Give all those a good fold down. So once you've got that effect, then you want to bring this nice pattern through to the front, and to do that, all you need to do on the top of your card is to measure down 2 inches. So all I'm going to do is to take my pencil and make a mark, let's get it in the right place, at 2 inches. And I'm going to do exactly the same on the opposite side. Make a mark 2 inches. And all I'm going to do is to, if I make a pencil line, then you can see I am just going to cut those 2 pieces off. So you can do it with your scissors or you can do it with your trimmer. So if I cut them off now, you can see what I'm on about. So let's get that on there. Like I say, you can pop that into your trimmer or you can just do it with your scissors. And there you go. And that gives you your pointed effect at the top, and you can see your pattern through. Now these 2 pieces then need to come down here to fit on. Let's get them the right way up. Are they the right way up? Yep. To get those on the bottom here. There we go. So all I'm going to do now, pop those aside, is I'm going to stick those in place. Now if it turns out that yours are slightly bigger, just trim this edge. Just might be a little millimetre over when you put them down, because you don't really want it to overlap your gatefold area. So pop those on. You don't want them to overlap this middle part there. So let's pop that neatly on. Then we can pop this one on too. Put that up against that little panel there. There we go. Give those a good stick down. And then all you need to do is take your scissors, and if they are slightly overlapping on the back, just by a, oh, that's just a tiny, tiny, teeny bit there. I'm just going to trim mine. There we go. It's just literally a tiny bit there. And that's what we've got. So now you've got your 2-tone and your piece like that. Now to make the back of your card, so that you've got something to stand it up on, I've got a back panel piece which is 4.5 by 6. Now if you're in the US and you do want to alter this for it not to be 6 inches, the only measurements that you'll need to alter is your length of these. So if you wanted this at 5.5, you could do this to 5.5, and if you wanted this then to fit on it, it would be 5.25 instead of 6 inches. But all the rest of the measurements would be exactly the same. So all I'm going to do there now is to stick this back panel I've just used tacky glue, but you can use tape if you want to, whatever your preference is. And I am just going to stick that onto that back panel. Now it doesn't have to be white, you could do gold on this, because this is the autumn papers that I'm using, so gold would look lovely. Any card that you've got, you could pop on the back there. So that's where you are now. Then all you need then is a back panel, a middle panel that goes behind the topper. Now on those papers, if you're using these particularly, there is this topper, which gives you room to write your sentiment in there if you want to. And once you've cut that out, I've found that all you need is a 3.25 by 4.25 mat to go behind that to make that stand out. So if I just glue that on, like so, and that's great there. And then pop some glue on that. And then you can add that inside your card, just like so. Get that lined up. And away you go. That's straight, near enough. That's that one. Okay. This is why you don't want any gap here so that you can't see what's going to be revealed. So to make the topper stand out, I have made 3 layers. My first layer is white card to match this back, but you could use a gold, like I say, or a different colour, which is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 inches. I have then done a patterned one to match the same as my background, my main card base, which is 2.5 by 2.5, and then another white layer, which is 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. Now, you don't have to do all those layers, but I found that's what made each one stand out, and it just gives that nice layered look without adding too much bulk. So those are my layers there. Now square them up, but because you're going to put them diagonally, also check that they look right diagonally, like you haven't got one fat side and one thin side when they're on diagonally. That'll do for me, that's great. Okay, and this is then going to fit in here. Before I do, I put a little border along the bottom. So off that same autumn sheet, I have got this one, which is Happy Autumn, which I could add along here, which I do quite like because it fits well with the words. Or I have got the green. The green stands out, but I'm thinking I'm liking this Happy Autumn. So I'm going to check out where that fits to about there. So I'm going to trim that just after the happy. This is where I managed to not get a straight line even on the tiniest piece of paper, but I'm going to wing it and see. Yep, that's okay. So I'm going to stick that on, and if I have got a little bit of an overlap, I can trim it. So let's pop that on there. So I'm going to stick this onto my sheet, lining it up with the centre, because you can trim this side edge. So line up with the centre, get that stuck down, and then just give this side a check, and yes, that'll fit on, and I can trim that the other side. So pop some glue on there, and then we can pop that one, and that fits really well then. Oops, wobble wobble, too much glue, to give that a stick down. While that's drying, I'm just going to turn the edge over there, and you can see where it's just a little bit longer than. So I'm going to trim that piece there, and I'm going to do exactly the same on this edge. That one's a touch too long. Trim that. Okay. So now I've got a nice little border along this bottom edge, and that just breaks that up. Looks nice. Then I'm going to add in my panel. Now you just want to add on one side, and really it's up to you, but it always looks better if you pop it on the left side. Now it's going on diagonally. You could put it on, there's nothing to stop you putting it on squared. It looks lovely squared, to be honest. But I'm going to pop this one on diagonally. So I'm just going to put glue just at the side of the middle, and then at this half of the card. Then I'm going to line it up and pop it where I think looks best. So let's, oops, pop that over. Make sure I've not got any glue coming out there. I don't want to stick it. See, I've already got a little bit tacky there. That's it. That's it. Okay, so there we go. That's on. Double check yourself here and here. Okay, so that's on. And then I've cut some flowers from the papers. So these are what I've got. I'll just bring that down a smidge. But before I put these flowers on, I want a little sentiment, and I've just used a die cut. And this is a hello die cut that I had. So I'm going to put this going off to the side here. I think it just fits, but you could easily use a stamp, a different sentiment. You could cut out a sentiment to put on there. You could easily just type something out on your computer, happy birthday, or you might already have some printed on from your computer. So whatever sentiment you'd like to use, pop that on there. Let's get it in position. Does that look all right? Squidge it down a bit. That's where I'm going to have my hello. Does it look straight? It's hard seeing it through a camera. Yeah, that's it. And then just have a play around with the flowers that you've got. So you can stick them wherever, but you just need to remember not to stick them where you're going to attach. They need to be attached to the white card really, or to this left hand side, and not to stick anything to the right hand side, or you'll be stuck together permanently. So that's what we've got there. I think I'm going to go with that. Now you can add some, it depends how much height you want on these. I am going to go with sticking some of mine down. Let's get this one on, because this one's the tricky one. Getting that on there. I'm going to put that one onto there, only gluing onto that white part. Let's see how we're layering up. Yeah, so on this big one, this big, I think it's a chrysanthemum, I'm going to pop a piece of, just a little piece of card I've got here, corrugated cardboard off a box. I'm going to use this, but you can use your foam pads. I'm going to stick that onto there, like so. And then I'm going to give myself a little bit of height there, I think. Yeah, that's great. Remember, only sticking to this side. And then I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to give myself a piece of card. Pop this one on. I'm going to pop this one here actually, so that I know I've got to stick it to it. That's better. I'm going to add that one in. And then I'm going to position that one like so. That looks fine. Because you've got wet glue, you have got a bit of time to wiggle about with it. I think I am going to add another red one in there actually. And a couple of leaves. So I'm going to give that one a little bit of height. I mean, you could stick all these on flat really easily. They don't have to be up high, and this little piece of card is not too high anyway, but it just gives it a bit more dimension should you want it. Tuck that one in under there, as though that hello is shooting out of there, and then I'm just going to add a couple of leaves in. I'll add that one there. And another one over here. Also, when you add the cardboard, it just gives you a little bit of room to tuck your elements behind one another, so you can just have them poking out like so. I think that's enough. Make sure your card opens and that you haven't glued yourself together. And then the final thing I'm going to do is I am just going to add some gems just to balance that top corner. So I have got these little strips of gems. So I've got 3 here, and this gold works well because it's goes with the autumn feel. And there we go. Let's move everything out the way. I think that looks really pretty in those colours, and it stands up. And you could add another sentiment on the back if you want to, or some more of your flowers. You could even pop a couple of your cut apart flowers on the back as well. So such a simple design, and yet you could keep making these in any of your collections that you've got. I mean, they'd be great for Halloween, they'd be great for Christmas. You could have Halloween figures on the front here, a little witch or anything, a little cat. Christmas, you could have your holly and your ivy or anything. So I hope you like my version of those cards. They're really easy to make. They come together, as you can see, really quickly, and you don't have to have this collection to have this sentiment panel. You could use any of the journaling cards that are in all the Graphic 45 pads now, or any other papers that you've got. So I hope you like that tutorial. If you do, please give me a thumbs up, and if you can subscribe to my channel, that's fantastic. It helps my little channel to grow. I really appreciate you watching and commenting. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.